I never thought I'd be the kind of person writing a story like this, but here I am. It started at the worst moment possible. I was standing in front of everyone, ready to say I do, and my heart was pounding so loud I thought the entire church could hear it. My palms were sweaty, and the cold metal of the ring box felt like a weight on my palm. I looked into Tom's eyes, my fiancé, and I saw nothing but love, or so I thought. Behind the altar, the sunlight streamed in through stained glass, casting colorful patterns on the polished wood. The smell of fresh flowers was supposed to be romantic. Instead, it all felt like a sick joke. Then I saw her, Lily, my best friend, standing just a few feet away. She looked nervous, biting her lip, and I remember thinking she seemed out of place. She was supposed to be smiling, whispering her vows, but her eyes kept flickering to Tom. It was subtle, almost too subtle. I brushed it off, telling myself I was just imagining things, but deep down I knew something was off. I was so caught up in the moment I didn't notice her glance at her phone more than once. I didn't realize she was sending messages, secret messages, underneath the table until the moment I was about to say I do. The moment I saw her phone light up with a text that said, "Can't wait to see you tonight," my stomach sank. My heart hammered in my chest. I froze for a second, then looked straight at her. Our eyes met, and she quickly averted her gaze like a kid caught stealing cookies. My mind spun. I wanted to scream, but I just clenched my fists trying to process the betrayal. How could she? How could my best friend do this right in front of everyone, right at the worst possible time? The room was so quiet I could hear the faint hum of the air conditioning, but my head was deafeningly loud. The priest was asking, "Do you, Tom, take this woman?" I wanted to scream no, but I was numb. Instead, I forced myself to take a deep breath, trying to hide the chaos inside. Lily's quick glance at her phone, the secret messages, those weren't just innocent texts. They were coded, I was sure. Of it, I could see the faint glow of her screen from the corner of my eye. The evidence was right there, staring me in the face and making everything click into place. After the vows, during the reception, I couldn't even pretend to be happy. My mind kept replaying that moment, those messages, her lips whispering lies. I kept thinking, how long have they been sneaking around? How many other lies had I ignored? The worst part, I didn't even get a chance to say anything in front of everyone. I couldn't, not then. I just looked at Tom, his smile so fake now, and saw the sneer hiding behind it. I could feel my jaw tight and my fists clenched. I needed to get out of there fast. Later that night, in the quiet of my apartment, I finally started digging. I knew I had to prove what I already suspected. I started sifting through her messages, her social media, and her texts. I found the hidden code, long, secret messages with emojis and abbreviations. I even found a folder labeled Our Secret, tucked away in her cloud storage with photos of them together. They'd been planning something, I was sure of it, and I was furious. How long had this been going on? How deep did the betrayal go? That's when the plan started forming. I wasn't just going to walk away, not without making her pay. I wanted her to feel the chaos she'd caused me. I wanted her to see what she'd lost, what she'd thrown away. I knew her weakness, her need for validation, and I started setting the pieces in motion. It was going to be slow, calculated. I'd shown her my anger, my pain, but now I was going to show her the cost of her betrayal. She thought she could get away with hiding her lies. She thought she could keep me quiet with a kiss and a promise. But I was done being the fool. And so, here I am about to turn the tables. I've got a plan that will shake her world, one secret message at a time, but I'll need to be careful. Trust me, I've learned to read people, and I know her weakness. I just hope I'm ready when the time comes to make her see what she's done. Because once I start, there's no turning back. I spent the next few days obsessively going over every possible angle. I rechecked her phone, her emails, her social media. I kept her under watch without her knowing, little things, following her on her usual routes, listening to her calls when I could. The more I looked, the clearer it became. This was no accident, no drunken mistake. It was planned. She and Tom had been sneaking around for months, hiding their little secret behind fake smiles and whispered lies. And now I had the proof. The evidence was solid, and I could almost feel my blood boiling every time I looked at the messages again. The texts weren't just flirty. They were loaded with coded language, emojis that meant more than what they seemed. Little hearts, fire icons, secret abbreviations, things I'd never paid attention to but now understood as signals. I found a string of messages that made my stomach turn. "Tonight's the night. Can't wait to see you," she texted him, right before the wedding. Another one, "You better be ready. I want you in the worst way." They'd planned something, I was sure of it. I didn't know what exactly, but I knew enough to be furious. I had to be smart about how I played this, though. I wasn't going to confront her blindly, not yet. I needed leverage, something that would shake her to her core. That's when I remembered the folder she had saved, hidden in the cloud, labeled Our Secret. I downloaded everything, every photo, every message, every little note they'd shared. The evidence was overwhelming, but I also needed to think about how I'd make her regret everything, how I'd make sure she paid for every single lie. I started carefully constructing my plan. I knew she liked her little secret chats and her special moments with Tom. If I could get her to stumble to reveal herself, I could finally put an end to her lies. I set up a fake account, an anonymous profile that looked innocent but was really a trap. I planned to lure her into a conversation where she'd slip up, say something revealing. I wanted her to get careless, just enough for me to catch her in the act once and for all. One night, I left my phone in the living room while I played a game. She snuck over, trying to act normal, but I saw her eyes flicker toward the screen every now and then. I pretended not to notice. When she went to the kitchen, I quickly checked my fake account. There, a message waiting. "Hey, I've been waiting for you. Can't wait to see you tonight." I took a screenshot. That was all I needed. Now I had her exact words, her own admission, just waiting for me to act. The next morning, I woke up with a strange sense of calm. I knew exactly what I had to do. I called her from a blocked number and told her I wanted to meet. Her voice was nervous, a little shaky. She asked, "What's this about?" I just said, "We need to talk, somewhere private." I could hear her pulse racing through the phone. She knew I was onto her. She tried to deny everything, but I didn't need her to admit it outright. The evidence spoke for itself. When she arrived at the agreed location, a quiet park not far from my place, I was already waiting. The breeze was cold, and I could feel my own nerves threatening to get the better of me. She approached, trying to act casual, but I saw the flicker of guilt in her eyes. I didn't waste time. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots, the messages, the photos. Her face drained of color. "So this is what you've been hiding?" I asked, voice low and steady. "You've been lying to me right in front of my face." She stammered, trying to defend herself, but the words sounded hollow. I felt my jaw tight. "You thought I wouldn't find out. You thought I'd never see it coming." I took a deep breath, feeling the pulse in my temple. "Let me give you a piece of advice," I said, voice sharper now. "Cheating, secrets, they all come out eventually. And when they do, the fallout's never pretty. I'm done being the fool. You want to hide your lies, fine. But I'm about to make sure everyone knows what you really are." I knew this was only the beginning, but I was already feeling the rush of victory. She looked like she wanted to cry, but instead she just stared at me, silent. Walking away, I left her standing there, trembling. I didn't want her to think I was finished. Not yet. This was only the start, and I had everything I needed. I had her phone, her secrets, and a plan to make her regret every betrayal. The best part, she'd be completely unprepared for what was coming next. I'd baited her, and now I was ready to strike. I just hoped she knew she'd just handed me the perfect weapon. The days that followed felt like walking on a wire stretched so thin I could fall at any second. Every time I looked at her, I saw the guilt behind her eyes, the way her hands trembled when she thought I wasn't watching. She tried to act normal, but her usual confidence was broken, replaced by nervous glances and twitchy gestures. I kept my cool, pretending I didn't know a thing, but inside I was plotting. I needed her to slip up again, just one more time. That's all it would take. I kept the fake account active, messaging her sporadically, pretending to be just another guy interested in her. I threw in some compliments, played into her insecurities, and watched her step right into my trap. It wasn't long before she took the bait. One evening, I got a message from her that made my stomach turn. She was excited, overly eager. "Can't wait to see you tonight, just us." That was it, the moment I'd been waiting for. I responded casually, offering a meetup spot. When she arrived, face flushed, eyes darting around, I was ready. I kept my voice calm but firm. "So, Lily, I've got to ask, what's going on with you and Tom?" Her eyes widened for a second, then she blinked quickly, trying to cover her tracks. "What are you talking about?" "I don't know what you mean," she stammered. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots I'd saved, her messages, the secret emoji code, her promise to meet him that night. Her face lost color and her hands fidgeted. She looked like a person caught in the headlights. I saw her swallow hard, then finally snapped. "You've been lying to my face this whole time. How long has this been going on?" She tried to deny it, but her voice cracked. "It's not like that," she started, but I cut her off. "Save it. I've seen enough. You've been sneaking around behind my back with my best man. That's the kind of betrayal I don't forget." My chest felt tight, but I kept my voice steady. She looked at me, tears starting to form, but I was beyond caring about her tears. I was already planning my next move. I wanted her to understand exactly how deep her lies had cut. "You thought I wouldn't find out, huh? Well, I did. And now I want to make sure you regret every single second you spent hiding this from me." She begged, tried to explain, but I wasn't interested in excuses. I was done listening. I told her to leave, that I never wanted to see her again. Watching her stumble away, I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. It was finally over, or so I thought. That night I sat in my apartment, staring at the evidence on my phone. I'd taken screenshots of her texts, her secret folder, everything, but I needed more. I realized I could turn her own secrets against her, force her to confront the damage she'd done. That's when I decided to go all in. I wasn't just going to confront her and walk away. No, I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal crushing her like I had. The next step was to spread her secret everywhere. I had access to her social media, her email, her cloud storage. I knew I'd find a way to push her to the edge. I created a plan to leak her messages to the people she cared about, to make her realize everyone knew what she'd done. My goal was simple: make her suffer the same way I had, and then some. In the meantime, I kept quiet, watching her reactions, waiting for the right moment. I was already seeing cracks in her facade. She was losing sleep, snapping at her reflection, avoiding eye contact. I could feel the power shift, and I knew she was starting to realize she made a huge mistake, one she couldn't undo. I kept my cool, but inside I was already planning the final move. Every day I reminded myself of the betrayal, of the fake promises she'd made, of the secret messages hidden behind her fake smiles. I wasn't going to let her go easily, not after what she did. The worst part, the knowledge that I'd been so blind, so trusting, and how easily everything had been shattered. I had to be careful now, but I also had to be relentless. She'd pushed me to the edge, and I was just getting started. The tension in my apartment was thick enough to cut with a knife. I watched her go from a seemingly confident woman to a nervous wreck in just a few days. The more she tried to act normal, the more obvious it was she was cracking under the pressure. Her face was pale, her hands shook constantly, and her eyes darted around like a thief caught in the act. I could see her trying to pretend nothing was wrong, but I knew better. I had her exactly where I wanted her, on the edge, desperate and vulnerable. That night I sat at my computer, reviewing everything I had gathered. The screenshots, her secret folder, the coded messages, everything was in place. I'd already decided the next step. I would leak her secrets selectively to friends, family, anyone who mattered. My goal wasn't just revenge. It was to make her feel the same devastation I'd felt, to make her understand what betrayal truly looked like. I composed a message to send out, anonymous but sharp. I kept it vague enough to spark curiosity, but specific enough to hit her where it hurt. Something like, "Did you know Lily was cheating on her fiancé with Tom, her best friend? The truth hurts, huh?" I hesitated for a moment, then clicked send. Watching it go live, I felt a strange rush, like finally taking control of a situation I'd been helplessly blind to. Within minutes, chaos erupted. Her phone started ringing nonstop. Friends, family, coworkers, everyone calling her, demanding answers. I saw her freeze, her face twisting in a mixture of shock and horror. She looked at her phone, her hands trembling so much she almost dropped it. I wanted to laugh, but I kept my face stone cold. This wasn't about me anymore. This was about making her see what she'd been doing behind everyone's back. She stormed into the bedroom, clutching her phone, muttering curses under her breath. I followed her, feeling a strange satisfaction. "You thought you could hide forever," I said softly but clearly. "That your lies wouldn't catch up with you. Well, guess what? Everyone's about to find out the truth, and I'm just getting started." She spun around, tears streaming down her face now. "Please don't do this. You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I cut her off, voice cold. "You thought you could betray me, cheat on me with my best man, and walk away like it's nothing. But now everyone knows, and that's only the beginning." Her hands trembled so badly I thought she might break down completely. "I didn't mean for it to get this far. It was a mistake," she whispered, her voice raw. "He's just—" "No," I interrupted sharply. "You don't get to ask for forgiveness now. You played your hand and I'm going to play mine. If you think this is over, you're dead wrong." I took a step closer, feeling the adrenaline surge through my veins. For a moment she looked like she was going to collapse. Her shoulders sagged and her tears doubled. But something in her eyes told me she wasn't ready to surrender yet. She was already planning her next move, I could tell. That's what made this so dangerous. I'd burned her bridges, exposed her secrets. Yet I knew her mind was already working overtime, trying to figure out how to fix it all. But I had already won the first round. The hard part was over, now I just had to stay one step ahead. I sat back on the edge of the bed, watching her silently. "You should get used to this feeling," I said, voice steadier than I felt. "Because from now on, every lie you tell, every secret you hide will come back to haunt you, and I'll be the one throwing that truth in your face." She looked at me, eyes swollen, voice barely a whisper. "You're gonna regret this." I smiled coldly. "No, Lily, I already do." And as she reached for her trembling hands, I knew I'd just set into motion something that would change everything. I didn't have all the pieces yet, but I knew enough. And I was ready to move forward no matter what it took. The game was on, and I wasn't about to lose. The days after that night blurred into a mix of chaos and cold calculation. Word about her cheating started spreading, texts, calls, whispers from friends I never expected to hear from. Some people couldn't believe it. Others looked at her differently, like they saw the cracks she'd been desperately trying to hide. I watched her from a distance, her once confident facade shattered, replaced by a mix of guilt and panic. She avoided me now, every glance filled with guilt or anger, but I didn't care. I was already planning the final move. I kept up the pressure, leaking bits of her secrets slowly to different groups. Today, it was her coworkers. Tomorrow, her family. I wanted her to drown in the fallout, to feel every ounce of what she'd caused me to endure. I knew I'd caused pain, yes, but I also knew this pain was justified. She'd taken my trust, shredded it, and replaced it with lies. I didn't want just revenge. I wanted her to understand the depth of her betrayal. One afternoon, I sat at my desk, fingers dancing over my keyboard. I drafted a message, carefully worded, to send to her closest friends. It was a mix of truth and evidence, enough to make them question everything about her. I added a little bit of my own pain, just enough to make it stick. The message read, "Did you know Lily was sneaking around with Tom right before her wedding? She lied to all of us, played the innocent girl. Now she's losing it, just thought you should know." I hit send and watched her social circle start to unravel. She found out about it quickly. Her eyes widened in horror when she saw her friends' reactions. Phone calls, texts, her social media blowing up with comments. Her face went pale and she collapsed onto the couch, clutching her head. "No, this can't be happening," she whispered. It was almost satisfying to see her like this, so fragile, so broken. But I knew I couldn't stop there, not yet. Later that evening, I went over everything I'd gathered. The evidence was overwhelming now. The secret messages, the photos, the folders. I knew I had her cornered. She was texting me, begging, crying, pleading for mercy. But I wasn't going to give her any. Not yet. Instead, I sent her a simple message. "You've been exposed. Everyone knows the truth now. There's no running from it." Then I called her. Her voice was trembling, full of desperation. "You think you can fix this?" I asked, voice cold. "You think you can just apologize and everything will go back to normal?" "Sorry, Lily, too late for that." She stammered, trying to deny everything, but I cut her off before she could get a word in. "Look, I'm done playing nice. You're going to regret every lie, every betrayal, and trust me, I've got more in store for you." I hung up, feeling a strange mix of relief and rage. She was finally broken, and I'd made sure she understood the consequences. But I knew her mind was still working. She'd always been clever, manipulative. I had to be prepared for what she might do next. That's when I decided I had to take control completely. No more leaks, no more subtle hints. This was the final move. The next morning, I arranged to meet her in person. When she arrived, I was already standing outside her apartment, my fists clenched. The cool air hit my face as she approached, eyes filled with tears and fear. "You think you're going to get away with this?" I asked sharply. "You've been caught, Lily. There's no hiding anymore. Everything's out there and everyone knows what you really are." She looked at me, trembling. "Please, just listen." "No." I cut her off. "It's over. You're going to tell the truth to everyone. And if you don't, I will. I've got everything I need, and I promise once I'm done you'll regret ever crossing me." My voice was steady, but inside I was furious. Every betrayal, every lie had led up to this moment. I wanted her to feel the same pain she'd caused me, only worse. She tried to protest, to beg, but I was already walking away, my heart pounding. I handed her a sealed envelope. "That's the last thing you'll get from me," I said. "Inside is everything, proof, evidence, the truth. The world will see you for what you really are." As she stared at the envelope, I knew she finally understood the gravity of what she'd lost, her reputation, her stability, her relationship with everyone she cared about. And as I turned my back, I felt a strange sense of closure. It was done. The betrayal, exposed and unmasked. I walked away from her with nothing left to say. I'd made her face her own reflection, and I knew she'd never look at herself the same way again. That's what revenge is about, taking control, making someone see the pain they caused, and walking away stronger. Because sometimes, the only victory is reclaiming your own peace, even if it costs everything else. The day I finally handed her the envelope was like shutting a door I'd been pushing open for too long. I told her to read it somewhere private, but I knew she'd already seen enough. Her trembling fingers opened the sealed envelope slowly, their shaking betraying her nerves. I watched her eyes scan the pages, screenshots, messages, photos, all the evidence I'd collected over weeks. Her face drained of color, her jaw clenched, and I saw tears start to roll down her cheeks. Good. Maybe now she'd finally understand the damage she'd done. She looked up at me, her voice barely a whisper. "You really went this far." I crossed my arms and leaned against the doorframe, feeling an odd sense of calm. "You wanted to hide your lies, your secrets. I just gave everyone what they deserve, truth." I paused, feeling the weight of everything behind my words. "You thought you could cheat, lie, and walk away clean, but I made sure the consequences hit you hard. You don't get to keep pretending you're innocent anymore." Her shoulders sagged, and she looked like she wanted to say something, anything, but the words died in her throat. I saw her start to cry in earnest now, her shoulders heaving with each sob, but I didn't pity her. I didn't want to. She played her cards, and I had just laid down mine. It was over, her secrecy, her lies, her betrayal, all of it. I took a step closer, voice firm. "Look, Lily, you made your choices. You betrayed me, lied to everyone, and thought you could get away with it. You're not just hurting me, you're hurting yourself. And trust me, I won't be the one to pick up the pieces anymore. I've done what I needed to do. This is your mess now." Finally, she looked at me with reddened eyes, a broken shell of the woman she used to be. "I never wanted it to go this far," she whispered. "I never wanted to lose everything." I shook my head, feeling the last bits of my anger settle into cold resolve. "You lost it the moment you decided to betray me. You chose the lies over honesty. And now all that's left is the aftermath. I'm done here." I turned to walk away, hearing her muffled sobs behind me. I knew she'd spend days, maybe weeks, unraveling what she'd lost, the trust, the respect, the love she had once taken for granted. I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness, knowing I'd finally taken back control of my life. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my peace. As I stepped out of her apartment, I closed the door behind me and didn't look back. I left her with her shame and her tears, knowing I had done everything I could to make her understand the true cost of betrayal. That's how I ended it. No more lies, no more secrets, just the cold, hard truth. And in the end, that's what set me free.